This video is for the literal equations, multi-step equations notes. So to solve a literal equation for one variable, you use inverse operations. So addition and subtraction are the opposite of each other. So you're doing the opposite of what's being done, just like when we solve regular equations. The new one here is squares and square roots. So if you've got a number that is squared, the opposite of a square is a square root. And the same thing if you've got something that has a square root symbol around it, the opposite of that is squaring it. And we'll see an example of that. So a literal equation is an equation with two or more variables. So starting at the top here, number 5, it says solve for W. So the name of the game here is to get W by itself. And so big chunks or terms we can just move. So for example, 2L, we need to get this away from the 2W. So I can just subtract 2L, and I'm going to use a cursive L so it doesn't look like a 1. I can just subtract that from both sides. So P minus 2L equals, the 2L and negative 2L cancel, 2W. And then I'm trying to get W by itself, but it's being multiplied by 2. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I would have P minus 2L divided by 2 equals, these 2's cancel. And I can break this down actually even further if I wanted to. I could do P divided by 2 and then minus 2L divided by 2, and I could cancel those 2's, but it still leaves me with a fraction. All right. On the next one, it says solve for B. So I need to get everything away from B. So what's being multiplied by B is the 1/2 and the H. So I'm going to move the H first. So actually, I'm going to rewrite this. Trying to figure out the best way to show y'all how to do this one. So let's get rid of the 1/2. I can multiply both sides by 2. Okay, so on the left-hand side, I have 2A equals the 1/2 and the 2. Remember, 2 is just 2 over 1. Top of this fraction, bottom of this fraction. Those will cancel. And so I'm left with BH. Now I have the B being multiplied by H. So I can divide both sides by the H. So on the left, I have 2A divided by H. The H's cancel over here, and I'm left with B. All right, on number 7, I'm trying to get L by itself. So again, I've got terms. So the first thing I can do is move this entire term, that plus pi r squared. I can just subtract that. Even though there's an exponent there, it's attached to the term. It's one whole chunk. So I can do S minus pi r squared equals pi r L. Positive pi r squared, negative pi r squared, cancel. So now I've got to solve, I'm still trying to get L by itself. So L is being multiplied by pi times r. So I can divide, again, by that whole chunk, pi r. So same thing here. So I have S minus pi r squared divided by pi r and pi r cancel, and that equals L. All right, on number 8, we're solving for W, so I got to get everything away from W. So the first thing I want to get rid of is that M. So I'm going to multiply both sides by M. So on the left, I have S times M, and then again, M, just multiplying by a letter, I can do that. And it's still the same as if I would multiply by 2. 2 is the same as 2 over 1. M is the same as M over 1. That way, I can cancel out these M's, and on the right, I'm left with W minus 10E. So I'm trying to get W by itself, so I'm subtracting 10E from it, so I can just add 10E to both sides. So S times M plus the 10E equals W. Negative 10E and positive 10E cancel. And so some more helpful hints, remember to think backwards. We do PEMDAS backwards. We always get rid of the addition and the subtraction first. Then we get rid of the multiplication and division. We remove fractions by multiplying by the reciprocal. And the last step is usually to divide by whatever is next to your variable. So that's always your last step, is that, getting rid of what's shoved up against the variable. So let me see if I can get this to focus a little bit better. All right, A equals 1/2 BH. We did that on the other page, so I'm not going to work that one again. 11, volume equals 1/3 BH. Solve for the B. So I want to get rid of that fraction first. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. So I have 3V. Again, 3 is just 3 over 1. So the 3's cancel, and I'm left with B times H. Get the H away from the B. It's being multiplied. So I would divide by H. So 3V divided by H. These H's cancel. B. All right, on number 12, we're solving for M. So I always try to get rid of fractions first. I always try to get rid of denominators first. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So I have 2K, and then again, 2 is just 2 over 1. So that cancels my 2's, and I'm left with MV squared. So now I need to get this MV squared away. I can divide the entire side by V squared. That is okay to do. So I have 2K divided by V squared. V squared and V squared cancel, equals M. All right, number 13, solve for B. So again, I want to get rid of this D first. So I can multiply both sides by D. Sorry, it froze. So on the left, I have A times D. D is just D over 1, so the D's cancel, B plus C. So now I want B by itself, so I'm adding, sorry guys, I'm adding C, so I can just subtract C from both sides. So when I'm subtracting, when I'm doing these letters like this, I just tack it on, addition and subtraction. Just tack it on to the end. Equals B, positive and negative C cancel. All right, on 14, solve for W. We did that one. Yep, we did that one. All right, 15, AX plus BY equals C. Solve for Y. So this is called standard form of an equation, and we're going to do this later. We're going to convert equations to standard form. So if I'm solving for Y, let's get rid of this AX first. So I'm just going to subtract AX from both sides. So the AX's cancel. I'm left with BY equals C minus AX. And so it's really important to watch your signs. So you're making sure things are negative or being subtracted where they need to be. So now I got to get the B away from the Y. So I'm going to divide both sides by B. The B's cancel. I'm left with Y. C minus AX divided by B. So 16 is slope-intercept form. This is the way we write equations in 7th and 8th grade. So here we're going to solve for the x. So the first thing I want to do is move that b. So I'm going to subtract it from both sides. Again, when you're subtracting a term like that, whatever letter was originally there, and then just tack that minus b onto the end. Equals mx. Positive and negative b cancel. If I want the x by itself, I want to divide both sides by m. So the m's will cancel out. So y minus b divided by m equals x. All right, 17. We're going to solve for t. I want this t by itself. So move the addition or the subtraction first. So this is a positive p. So I would subtract p from both sides. So a minus p, and then these p's cancel. P, R, t. Now again, I can move whole chunks at a time. T is being multiplied by p times r. So I can keep those attached and just divide by p, r. So a minus p divided by PR, PR and PR cancel, equals t. All right, the next one says solve for A. All right, so here what I need to do is I need to get rid of that n first, or I can distribute it. So let me work it both ways, okay? So we've got S equals n a plus 1. So what I could do, I could divide both sides by n. So I would have S divided by n equals a plus 1. If I want a by itself, I can subtract 1 from both sides. So I would have S divided by n minus 1, again, just tack it on to the end, equals a. The other thing that I could do is I could distribute that n out. So n times a is na, n times a, oop, that should be positive. N times a positive 1 would be just plus n, okay? So I could subtract the n from both sides. S minus n equals n times a, positive and negative n. Then I can divide both sides by n. So these would be equivalent, and I'm going to show you why. I know they look different, but remember we did this a little bit yesterday. I can do S divided by n minus n divided by n. So this and this represent the same thing. And so now we're starting to look alike. So S divided by n. And remember, if we have the same thing on the top and the bottom of the fraction, it's just a 1. So it's whichever method that you find easier, it comes out to be equivalent. So know that there's multiple ways to work some of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and write the answer in here. All right, we did 19 yesterday, so here's a long one. Let's tackle this for the end. Solve for B1. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, let's get rid of that 1/2. Let's multiply both sides by 2. So I have 2a, the 1/2 and the 2 cancel, and then I've got this h times b1 plus b2. So this is another one with parentheses that there's multiple ways that you could work it. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that h. So I'm going to divide both sides by h. 2a divided by h. H is canceled. b1 plus b2. If I want b1 by itself, I'm going to subtract b2 from both sides. Ooh, I'm running out of space. So I would have 2a divided by h minus b2 equals b1. Positive and negative b2 cancel. Again, there's another way that you can work that if you would distribute that h out before you do anything else.